Hey, what's up guys, Sir Emanon here and welcome to another video. So this one is going to be covering some tips and tricks to keep in mind if you are playing Tri-Brigade Lyrilusc, and this video is going to be pretty similar in format to the DB Grinders Things to Remember series. Definitely go and check those videos out if you haven't already. They are quite informative and insightful, but these are going to be some things I think are pretty easy to understand and are fairly straightforward, but are also super commonly overlooked in-game, which happens of course to the best of us. But there are 10 things that I want to share in this video, so let's go ahead and get started without any further ado. So the first one is going to be quite simple. It's going to be the bonus effects that both Cobalt Sparrow and the Barrow Canary apply and bestow to your Wind Exceeds monsters if they were used as material. Cobalt Sparrow is the more notable one, where it gives your monsters charging protection, which I think a lot of people are already aware of. But Barrow Canary is also not one to be slept on because this one makes it so that monster's control cannot switch. So it helps play around cards like Tactics and Draco Future in the mirror match, for instance. Also, something important to note is the attack point boost, because it does come up when you are trying to assemble a lot of damage with, no pun intended, assemble Nightingale. So that's definitely relevant going second. So there is also one more thing that I want to mention here while we're at it. So in this example, of course, Recital is impervious to your opponent's imperm and tactics. But even if you detach these monsters as material, their effects still actually get applied to the Exceeds monsters, and the reason that's the case is that if you read them, they say that a Wind Exceeds monster that was summoned using this card on the field as material gains this effect. So it doesn't necessarily mean that while they're attached, they give the monster their bonus effects. It's just as long as this was made with those monsters and it's not being negated overall, like something or by something like Droplet, for instance, they will still be gaining those bonus effects. So definitely keep that in mind. So in this example, Recital Starling will be untargetable. The second thing, and I accidentally wrote number 3, but it should be number 2, is going to be the fact that Recital Starling's stat boost is actually permanent, and also it can be applied to any monster on the field. It doesn't have to be just yours. So this is of course also relevant when you are going second. You do want to sometimes be going for game, and you want to boost up your opponent's monsters to be able to use Recital Starling's third effect, where all battle damage you take from battles involving this Exceed summoned card is also inflicted to your opponent. So definitely keep that in mind, and also just a bit of a reminder here that this does boost both attack and defense. So even if your opponent has a bunch of monsters in defense position, you do still want to be boosting them so you can just attack into them. And that's also quite nice because you don't necessarily have to commit a Summon Nightingale in all of those cases. So it is definitely quite relevant for sure. The next one is going to be a cool interaction between Recital Starling and if you have Sapphire Swallow as material. So basically, the way this works is that the Sapphire is going to give the Recital the effect. So Recital is going to be activating, and it has an effect on summon as is, and then this gives also another trigger effect on summon. So basically, what would end up happening is that you can stack the chain links in whichever way that you want to. In this case, you want to do Recital chain link 1 to go ahead and boost, and then Recital chain link 2 to apply Sapphire Swallow to attach from graveyard. So what ends up happening here is that the first effect actually checks in resolution, so you can apply chain link 2, go ahead and attach from graveyard, and then chain link 1 will go and boost your monster by 900 instead of 600 because it's 300 per material, going to be 3 materials, so 900 attack and defense. The next one is going to be a very important interaction between Assemble Nightingale and Recital Starling. You definitely have to know this one, especially if you're going second. So basically what ends up happening here is that if you have these monsters on the field and your opponent has something that you want to crash into, you go into the battle phase, you can attack with your Assemble Nightingale multiple times just to get a good amount of damage in. And then in the battle phase still, after that's resolved, you can go ahead and use the Assemble Nightingale's quick effect to detach one and make it so that your Lyrilusc monsters are impervious to battle card effects and that you take no battle damage this turn. So after that, you can go and use Recital Starling to attack into your opponent's monsters, and even though you don't take any battle damage this turn, your opponent still actually does take the damage thanks to Recital. And there is a link that I will, or a ruling that I will link in the pinned comment below that specifies why this is the case. I kind of brought this up multiple times before, but this is basically a corollary with the new Agent Structure deck and the Sanctuary in the Sky. So this works and functions in quite a similar fashion, so your opponent will be taking the damage here. Next up is going to be a pretty straightforward interaction with Apollousa, and you can kind of see where this one's going based on just what's written here, but Recital Starling can boost your Apollousa. So in the previous example where you had Sapphire attached, you can actually boost your Recital by 900, which does give an extra negation. So if you are playing these cards together, this is something that comes up pretty infrequently, but is something that can be relevant if you do want the extra layer of protection. Next one is going to go ahead and be a really cool interaction with Warbler and Barrow Canary. So you can't actually bring back any Lyrilusc monster, meaning that the Exceeds monsters do count. So if you have something like a Recital Starling in the graveyard, you can actually use Warbler or Canary to go and bring them back. And then if you have Wagtail engraved, that actually gets extra utility because you can just immediately attach it as material. And then in this case, you can just go ahead and get a search right away. This is useful if you were stopped from getting to like your Triple Draco future, or like let's say your Summon Nightingale got outed before it was able to turn into a Zeus essentially. You have a second chance basically with these, so that's quite important to keep in mind. Also, something that I didn't mention is that because you have to have this Exceed Summon card in order to apply the last effect, it won't work if you try and bring this back and then crash your opponent's monsters. Your opponent won't actually be taking damage there because it wasn't Exceed Summoned here. So there's a lot of possibilities with this one, and definitely keep that in mind if you are playing. Really, really relevant for sure. Next one is going to be a very strong interaction between Turquoise Warbler and just any card that can discard or send your monsters to the graveyard. So things like Forbidden Droplet or Twin Twister or things like that. So what you are going to do here is you're going to activate your Turquoise Warbler on field to special summon a Lyrilusc from your hand to grave. This one also checks in resolution. So basically, if your opponent has a response and you want to kind of like chain a Droplet, for instance, to like your opponent's Enforcer here in this example, you can send your Cobalt Sparrow away. So it'll be Droplet channeling 3, Enforcer channeling 2, and then Warbler channeling 1. And then once this resolves, your Warbler will just bring the Cobalt Sparrow right back, and then gets the effect right there. So this is very, very cool. Great resource management, and it's super important if you are trying to like break boards going second and get the most value. The next thing is going to be Bird Call, and how, of course, this card is ridiculous. It plays around Joel as well, because you can, in fact, Foolish Burial instead of just adding. So it's very, very nice because you can send things like Cobalt Sparrow. I did cover this in my combo tutorial video on how this can help play around Joel, but the difference definitely it definitely matters a lot, because in this example, you get Joeled on your Sparrow instead of on your Bird Call. So you have this Nerval in hand, and then you can go ahead and make your board here. Like you can go for Farid, summon out your Nerval, go for DDL, and then on a Simorg. So the difference between having just your Sparrow in hand and it doesn't really do anything versus getting to all of this is massive. So be sure to keep that one in mind. Next one is going to be the fact that Oath actually has an on-field effect. I think a lot of people don't really realize, but this one allows you to target any Link monster you control and then special summon a Tri-Beast with a different type from your hand or graveyard. So you don't even have to target a Tri-type Link monster. It could be any Link monster like Apollousa even. But yeah, this is a cool interaction. You can't actually use the on-field effect the same turn you use the grave effect, so definitely be aware of that. But let's say your opponent activates something that you want to negate with Apex Avian. You bounce this to the hand and negates it. And then right afterward, you can actually Oath to target, say, your DDL right here, and then you can just summon the Apex Avian right back. So that's a cool interaction that you might want to be aware of if you do draw your Oath, and let's say like you had to resolve Prosperity maybe, and you couldn't put this back with Farid. These kinds of things maybe can come up. And because Apex Avian is not once per turn, you can actually just go ahead and like negate this again, which is cool. Something to note also with this card, by the way, is that it does have to return itself to the hand, or whatever Mist Valley card you target to the hand, in order to negate the activation of the card and destroy it. So if your opponent chains something like a Ghost Ogre, for instance, to this, it won't actually negate like the Mystic Mine in this example. So that's something to be aware of as well. Next one is going to be, and the last one, which is the Harpie's Featherstorm, and this only negates the activated effects that your opponent's monsters try and achieve, basically. So your opponent might activate like a Dark Ruler to turn off your Ensemble Robin in this example. Warbler doesn't activate the special from hand because it doesn't start a chain due to parentheses here. So even if like you shotgun to Featherstorm, for instance, this won't actually be stopping the Warbler from just being a free body. If they activate the effect and you chain the Harpie's Featherstorm, they can, like, for example, normal summon another monster, and then you can kind of see where this is going. You can go for a Zeus play here because the attack directly also does not activate, so that is not stopped by Featherstorm either. And then they can go, for example, for a downer into a Zeus. And then even though obviously the Zeus will be negated on their own turn, like they can pass to you and then try and activate it on your turn. Of course, you have like Draco Future in this instance, but this is something that's relevant for sure in like the mirror match, or just against decks that have like Floodgate monsters. So yeah, it doesn't stop like the infamous Amano Raigeki, for example. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. This one wasn't like super long. I hope I tried to keep it relatively short, and we actually managed to do so. It's about going to be less than 10 minutes here, so that's great. So yeah, these are, again, some tips that you should keep in mind if you're playing this deck. Again, it's not like anything super complex, but these are things that are, again, kind of easy to lose track of if you are in-game. It's definitely happened to me on occasion. So that's going to be it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and comment and subscribe and do all that good stuff. And until next time, I'll catch you in the next video. See you guys.